Hello. Yo. How's everybody doing? Can everybody hear me and see me well? Welcome to the stream. What's up, JH? What's up, Afro Comb? What's up, AMD? What's up, Michael? What's up, Lynn? Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Hope everyone enjoyed their Christmas, whether or not you celebrated on December 25th. I hope that your day was still okay. What's up, Super Femi? So, nothing too specific planned for today. Just trying to get back into the groove of streaming because I've been very inconsistent for various reasons, because I've been moving and a bunch of other stuff has been going on. But I'm trying to get back into the groove. Hopefully want to stream twice a week. At the very least, maybe I'll, bump it up later down the line once I get more into the groove of it. My holiday season has been pretty good. Spent some time on Christmas with family. Anybody get any gifts? Any cool gifts? It's interesting, like I feel like I don't really get Christmas gifts for real anymore. I mean, I'll get every now and then someone will think of you and think of something that they know that you want, but when I was a kid, it was like all about the gifts and just unwrapping all these gifts. But it's not really like that anymore, which is fine, because generally if I want something, I'll just get it myself. But one of my friends got me a D&D related cookbook, which is pretty cool because I like D&D and I also like cooking. So a lot of like fantasy inspired recipes. And my aunt gave me some body wash, which I appreciate. Like those are like the gifts you get as an adult that you start appreciating. Like if someone gave me body wash when I was a teenager, I'd be pissed. It's like, what is this? But now when people get you stuff like toiletries and clothes and socks and things like that, it's like, man, that's awesome. Now I don't have to buy it. Super Femi, thank you for the $20. Have some lunch on me. A while back I heard you talk about how much you enjoy Dungeons and Dragons. Are you currently playing in a campaign? If so, what adventure are you playing? So I actually just finished a long D&D campaign. We played a campaign for like 2 years and we just finished it. But we are going to start a new one very soon, probably in a couple weeks. The one that we were doing was a sort of combination of homebrew, and we also, I mean, I ran the game, so I also used the published adventure called Storm King's Thunder, but it was like heavily modified and homebrewed. Hold on, my thing is bugging out. All right. Money and socks. I back that. That's what I'm talking about. Like, socks is a great gift for an adult. Really nice Sennheiser headphones. Double-sided 2-burner griddle. That's amazing. I wish I would want that. What type of questions do I want to answer? Doesn't matter. Whatever you all want to talk about. Got 3 new board games. Gave daughter a Switch. Got the Lego architecture set. Great Wall of China. Dope. Oh, I forgot. I also got. This is the greatest gift ever. I got a fanny pack. I mean, it's a Nike fanny pack, but not sponsored for sure. I feel like fanny packs are super underrated. It's like a super awesome accessory that for some reason we have determined is not cool to wear. I don't know why, but I'm bringing it back because it's super useful. Nope. Thank you for the $1.99. Sock, shirt, vacuum grade. A vacuum cleaner is a excellent gift in my opinion, especially for someone that doesn't have one or for someone that needs to upgrade. Never played a D&D-ish game that lasted longer than one night. 2 years. Yep. We had a solid ongoing game. We explored many different arcs and the characters got to achieve their lifelong goals. It was great. I've never played D&D. What is it about? D&D is a tabletop role-playing game where you play the role of epic heroes and go on an adventure. But it's about role playing. Like, it's similar to a board game, but there's no like actual physical game. It's all in your mind. I mean, you can use like miniatures and maps and stuff, but it's all about using your imagination. So the way that a lot of people describe it is playing make-believe, except there are rules. And it's super fun. It's like my favorite thing to do these days. And it's so the game is run by the dungeon master or the game master, who either comes up with the story and plays all of the NPCs and enemies, or they use a pre-written story that someone else has written, and they guide the characters through the story. And whenever the characters want to try to do something where there is a chance of success and a chance of failure, they roll the dice to see if they succeed. That's pretty much the gist. It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. I think that everyone should try D&D or some other tabletop role-playing game at least once to see if you like it. Most people end up enjoying it, at least to some extent. I'd be curious if you watched Key and Peele. They felt like a new age Chappelle show. Yeah, I have seen most of Key and Peele. I think I thought it was pretty brilliant. Apparently Chappelle was kind of upset because he felt like they kind of stole his idea. But I mean, I feel like there's a distinction between the two shows for real, for sure. But yeah, I like Key and Peele. Fanny pack is a funny word here in Europe. I'm sure it is. Fanny pack sounds like a British term to me. It sounds like something that they would say over there. Don't watch the new Matrix. It was awful. I haven't seen it yet, but I probably will still see it just to, you know, just because I'm a big fan of the whole Matrix thing. And I'm a little bit, I have to see for myself because a lot of people say that the Matrix sequels are also awful and I like those. So I'll have to see. Trevor Jones, thank you for the £5. No question, just thank you. And Khadijah and Princess and Keith and Jesse Gender for the education. Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. And yeah, those are all good people to check out as well. Do you think the fact that you have nuanced and complicated opinions rather than simple and polarizing ones limits the potential size of your audience? I mean, I think yes and no. I mean, clearly you can just make super polarizing and, you know, provocative content, and that can get a lot of attention. We've seen people do that. But also, there are people in this space who do make very nuanced and complex arguments that are succeeding. I hate to always talk about ContraPoints. I feel like every time I stream, I mention ContraPoints at least once, but I just feel like she's just like the best YouTuber, so I don't know what else to say about that. But her videos are extremely nuanced and extremely like charitable and complex, and she's killing it. So it's definitely possible. But I think you can also succeed for sure that by doing just like, you know, shitlord provocative content that's really designed to just get attention by being uncharitable and sensational, you know. I played a 4-year game. It was so amazing. Yeah, that's great. I don't think I'm gonna do another game that long, and I think that our group feels the same way. Like, you could kind of tell, like, on the tail end that they were starting to, you know, they were starting to want to do something else. They were like excited about their next characters and things like that. So I think 2 years is a little bit too long for me, but you know, whatever works for other people. I think a longer game can work if the individual games are spread apart. Like, we played every single week, but I know some people that play like once a month. So if you play like a once a month game and that lasts 4 years, I can see that for sure. Yeah, I haven't seen The Matrix yet. I have seen Encanto. But also, going back to the YouTube thing, like, what counts as a big audience? Like, I have almost 300,000 subscribers. I think that's, you know, that's pretty good. I don't have like millions of subscribers, but you know, I think if you talk to a smaller YouTuber and you ask them, how come T1J isn't a big YouTuber? You think it's because his videos are too nuanced? They'll probably look at you and say, what do you mean he's not a big YouTuber? He's got 300,000 subscribers. So, you know, there's different ways you can look at it. Played a 3-year stint of Gamma World. I don't even know what Gamma World is. Is that an RPG? Ooh, I've never heard of Gamma World. Yeah, that definitely counts. I might look into that. A science fantasy role-playing game. Cool. Spouse playing D&D with our sons and nephew. Son's character's a thief, so spouse gave him a lock-picking kit for the holiday. Oh, that's really cool. I've introduced dozens of people to D&D now, and only one person vocally disliked it. Yeah, I feel like most people love it. Like it or love it. Because it's just fun, because you get to do whatever you want, you know? I think that people who haven't played D&D, and that included myself before I started playing, they have a idea of what it might be like. And then when you play, you realize that it's just way more flexible than what you could have imagined, because you can kind of do whatever you want. Assuming you're playing with a cool DM who doesn't like have a lot of arbitrary restrictions, but you can do whatever you want. Like even you know, the game, most D&D games are in sort of like a fantasy setting, like swords and sorcery, high fantasy, like Lord of the Rings type shit. But if you go to your DM and say like, I don't know, I want to be a scientist, they can probably find a way to make that work. Or, you know, like if you want to do something that doesn't necessarily fit in that world, the rules of the game like allow that to happen, which is pretty cool. I believe the British would have come up with the name Porta Booty. Okay. Matrix 4 is def okay from a non-Matrix fan. No spoilers, by the way. It does a good job of figuring out a way to continue the series while poking fun at itself and Warner Brothers. It's definitely meta, but it's okay. Yeah, I heard it was very meta. Matrix 4 just repeats the word choice over and over again. Well, that sounds like all the other movies, so. I've seen more and more critiques of cancel culture from an explicitly left-wing perspective arising lately. For example, on the podcast Fucking Canceled. What's your perspective on cancel culture? I made a video about that, actually. It's called What Everyone Gets Wrong About Cancel Culture. I think that cancel culture, the term is hard to define. I think that people use it to describe a lot of different, like related but different things. So it's hard to say what even people are talking about when they say cancel culture. Like, you know, it's hard to talk about without, it's a nuanced topic. That's why I had to make a whole video about it. I mean, we can watch the video if you want, but or you can just watch it on your own. But first we have to define what cancel culture is, I think. Like, do people dogpile people on the internet? For sure. Is there like a mob mentality on the internet sometimes? Yeah. Do people try to use the power of social media to get people fired or to make them lose money? Of course they do. So there's a lot of people who say like cancel culture doesn't exist, and I think that's disingenuous. Clearly this shit happens for sure. But the thing is, a lot of times when people are complaining about cancel culture, they they just don't like being criticized. They don't like when people critique their views, and so they talk about that. They say that they're getting canceled or whatever. And also, like, particularly in the case of like celebrities, like it's like nearly impossible to cancel a successful person, a successful public figure. Like, they're probably gonna be okay, unless they like do something illegal that like gets them like put in prison or something. So there's a lot of different angles you can come at it from, but I would suggest watching my video on that to get my full thoughts. As I've gotten older, my D&D frequency has slowed down. When I was back at university, when I was 18, 21, I played 3 nights a week and twice on Saturday. Now I play every other week. Yeah, right now I play once a week. Honestly, playing much more than that is a little bit exhausting. But once a week is a good... I could probably do twice a week, but right now I just play once a week. What makes you decide to do a live video versus use the cartoon avatar? I don't know. Sometimes it's just a matter of the situation I'm in when the video has to come out. Like, for example, when I first moved to this apartment, I didn't have anything set up. I didn't really have the camera set up. I didn't really have a good place to shoot. So the first video, or the first or second video I did in this apartment, was just the cartoon avatar. Sometimes I just do it for stylistic purposes. I just think it's cool. Sometimes I'm running a little late on the deadline, and editing is a pretty time-consuming process, and it's easier to... Well, it's not. It's honestly not easier to edit, but I can skip the filming process, which just takes out a little bit of time. So I don't know. There's different reasons why I would do it. Imagine a Matrix D&D. I mean, a Matrix tabletop game would be dope, and in fact, I would not be surprised if that exists, or if something like that exists. But you just gave me a good idea for a one-shot. I think I saw you complimenting Taskmaster. How are you enjoying the show? Oh, I'm obsessed with Taskmaster, dude. For those who don't know, Taskmaster is this British show. I don't know if you would call it a game show. It's not a quiz show, but it's like a game kind of show. I can't even describe it. It sounds really dumb when you say it out loud, but it's like, it's hilarious, and it's like really interesting. Basically, they like have all these like comedians on, and they make them do these random tasks, and they have to complete the tasks, and they get points based on how well they complete the tasks. And that's the show. And the tasks are all super random, and usually there's like a trick to completing the tasks. So I'm trying to think of one. Like, there's one where they walk into a room and there's an egg in the room, and the egg is like sitting in this little egg holder, and they read the task, and the task says, you must eat the egg. Whoever eats the egg fastest wins, basically. And so they each do the task one by one, and they're given a lot of leeway in terms of how they complete the task. So like, the obvious thing that you would do is just crack the egg and eat it raw. That's the quickest way to eat the egg. But almost none of them did that, because that's kind of gross. And another way that they fooled them is the cup that the egg was in was too small to actually hold the uncooked egg in it. So if they tried to crack it into the cup, they would have like lost like half the egg, and like 1 or 2 people did that. Anyway, like I said, it sounds really dumb when you say it out loud, but it's like a really great show, and all of the people on the show are comedians for the most part, so it's also really funny. So I don't know, I'm obsessed with it. Yeah, I don't know how to sell it. In my opinion, many people who complain about cancel culture give me won't somebody please think of the billionaire vibe, since it's usually the rich who get canceled. I mean, yeah, I guess. I think, like I said, it's really hard to cancel someone who is rich and famous. Like, it's really hard to hurt them. But just because someone is rich does not mean it's okay to be cruel to them. And I think that's the thing that people seem to think. I don't know why people become sociopaths when it comes to rich people. Like, rich people are still human beings that still deserve respect and compassion. I don't know. I don't disagree with this sort of left-wing idea that it's okay to be shitty to rich people. Like, they're still human beings. Yeah, people like J.K. Rowling, Dave Chappelle, they're gonna be fine. But that doesn't mean it's okay to be cruel and uncharitable to them. But at the same time, it's not only just celebrities and rich people that get canceled. Many times some random person on Twitter might make a bad take, or not even a bad take, just a take that people disagree with, and then all of a sudden they get dogpiled and people are calling their boss and shit like that. So it's not just rich people. Mad Scientist Assistant, thank you for the $2 Canadian. Happy December 27th, T1J. Happy December 27th to you. They call it a panel show. Okay. That makes sense. It makes him think outside the box to complete the task, yes. Did you see the candle one? Extinguish the candle from the furthest away. Most try to blow it out, but 2 of them flip the candle to put it out. I haven't seen that one, no. I've only just been catching random episodes on YouTube because I don't know how else to watch it. But there are many like full episodes, but I haven't like watched it in order. I just like catching episodes. I've seen all of, I think, series, I want to say series 11, and I started watching series 12, but all of the episodes are on YouTube. There's a few Matrix-y role-playing games out there. If I had my choice, I'd use Cypher System from Monty Cook Games. You can also use Mutants and Masterminds 3rd or Cortex engine to work the setting. Interesting. I'll probably look into that. Would you rather fight 1 horse-sized goose or 20 regular geese? Oh, this is a rewording. Usually it's 1 horse-sized duck or 20 duck-sized horses. I think I could take, well, I think I could take the one goose. Remember that time a completely normal guy lost his job because he cited an academic paper saying that riots could lead to election losses? Yeah, I actually mentioned that in my video about cancel culture. And that was a particularly heinous situation, because this guy was not even like, he wasn't even trying to be provocative or trying to be political. He literally just cited a study on his Twitter. And I don't even think this was a person who had like a particularly large following, but someone just caught wind of the fact that he was doing it. I will say he did it like, I think days after the George Floyd killing. So it was definitely a bit tone deaf, but that doesn't mean he deserved to lose his job. Dre Black, thank you for the 5. Really just testing out this donate thing. First time. Well, I appreciate you decided to test it out for me. Conversation about JKR and Chappelle can become exhausting, but they're conversations we must have, or else the LGBTQ plus community sees the debate to transphobic voices. Yeah, I fully agree. I think it is definitely discussions we can have, that we should have. Absolutely. The problem is these discussions become about vengeance, and people will there's no like, if the discussion is going to be combative and uncharitable, then there's really no point in having it at that point. And that's what happens with a lot of these discussions. It's not really about getting to the truth or or finding a way to make the world better. It's just finding a way to punish the evil people. And to me, that's counterproductive and dumb and silly. Would you rather have unlimited bacon but no games, or have unlimited game but no games? I don't know if that's a typo or if that's a joke, but it's funny either way. I agree, geese are terrifying. I get that it's not my job to educate you, take, and that's fine, but just because it's exhausting for you doesn't mean you should just attack people, let other people educate. Lindsay Ellis also did a really good video about cancel culture, describing exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. If you're talking, I guess you're talking about the one where she's talking about her own, when people were attacking her. And again, that was another ridiculous situation. If you can't tell by my tone, I'm usually like, I default to thinking that social media is trash. So whenever like I hear about someone getting dogpiled or canceled, I'm immediately like, okay, what nonsense is Twitter talking about these days? Sometimes the people who get attacked, at the very least, deserve some criticism. They probably don't deserve like harassment and death threats and shit like that, like people are doing, but sometimes they deserve criticism. Like J.K. Rowling, for example, very clearly the things that she says should be criticized and condemned, and she's like doubling down on it. I also think, not, this is a little bit blaming the victim here, but I do think that part of the reason that she doubles down so hard is because people continue to be like extremely shitty and harmful about the way that they interact with her. But you know, she shouldn't have been shitty and harmful in the first place, for sure. But people just take it too far. People always take it too far on social media. Like almost invariably, people on social media take things too far, and it's obnoxious. But the thing with Lindsay Ellis was extremely silly because Lindsay Ellis didn't do anything. Like to the extent that I was very confused that it was happening. Like Lindsay Ellis just basically made a tweet saying, I don't really like this movie. I think it's derivative. And people, I mean, it was a little more, I'm underselling it a little bit, but people just went ham off of that. It's wild. I think that people got mad because she was saying the movie that she said she didn't like was a movie that was supposed to like celebrate POC culture or something, and I guess people thought that she was like dismissing that or something, but it's like she's allowed to not like a movie. What the hell? So sometimes people just go ham for no reason, and that's why, and in fact, either people go ham for no reason or they always take it too far, and so that's why I'm always a little bit biased against social media. Do you believe that insanely rich people have a moral obligation to support the lesser population in need, since there are no feasible way for them to spend it inherently? Well, I think that the government and economic system should be such that people who have more money should be required to give more, you know, in taxes or however you want to do that towards the social systems and social safety nets. I think that people should be able to spend their personal money however they want to. But the society that I would favor, the ideal society that I would look for, would make it so that people wouldn't be poor, so you wouldn't need rich people to support you because all of your basic needs are already taken care of. So the society that I would favor would preclude the whole idea of charity from rich people. Ultimate or Melee? Probably. I mean, I think I think Ultimate is a better game. It's a better made game. But obviously there's a lot of history and I have a lot of nostalgia for Melee, and Melee is just really fun to just mess around with, but in terms of like game balance and mechanics, I think Melee is just super broken and dumb, and Ultimate is a little bit more of a real game. I wish there was a way to play Ultimate online that didn't suck. I would probably play it all the time if that was the case. I just hate playing online because it's terrible. I think that a lot of people might disagree with that opinion, but you know. But watching high level Melee, I think it's like a work of art, like high level Melee. But I think if Ultimate was around for 20, 30 years, I think it would get to that point as well. I'm late, but how do you celebrate this season and how are you feeling? I'm feeling okay. On Christmas Day, I went and hung out with some family, and Probably for New Year's Eve, I'll be hanging with friends. Just celebrating with the people that I love in my life. That's pretty much it. Nothing too complex. Do you think Bezos will become a trillionaire this decade? It seems possible, which is wild to think about that's possible. I genuinely don't get the hyper love for Melee. Well, a lot of it is just nostalgia, I think. But I mean, it is I think it's a really fun game. And like I said, high level Melee is beautiful. And like the control that you have over your character in that game is like unmatched. The fact that you can just kind of very smoothly move your character around the stage, you can't really do it as well in any other game. Much as any other Smash game, I don't think any other video game, or any other fighting game at least. Like it really feels like you know, it's considered like the platform fighter, but it really, you know, like a really good platformer where you feel like you can just kind of move your character however you want, like in Hollow Knight or something, or like Celeste, like you can just move your character and put it anywhere on the screen you want. Like that's how Melee feels, and I don't think any other Smash games feel like that. We are a lot further from living in a Star Trek world than I would hope we'd be. I guess. I mean, we've got a lot of wild stuff. We just have gotten so used to the crazy technology that we have. Like the fact that I can stream and talk to you all with video in real time, that's pretty wild. We didn't have that 20 years ago. It just wasn't a thing. Like, not to the extent that we have it now. It's a fun game, but I don't get why a lot of people didn't move on, but I generally don't think Ultimate is that fun in comparison. I like Ultimate a lot. I played a lot of Brawl. I think Brawl was kind of underrated, and it was like more maligned than it needed to be. I think it was a pretty decent game. I hated Smash 4. I thought Smash 4 was trash. But I think Ultimate is pretty. I think Ultimate is like, I think it's like the game that they've been wanting to make this whole time. Are you worried about Omicron? Well, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to keep up with everything, but I think everyone should have some level of concern about Omicron. We're closer to Mad Max than we are Star Trek. Maybe so. Metal Gear Solid 5 gives you an insane amount of control over your character. I mean, in terms of like customization and stuff, yeah, but in terms of just like the movement and animation, maybe compared to other games in that genre, but not compared to like platformers. Because platformers aren't beholden to real life physics. But games like Metal Gear Solid 5 generally have to make it seem like there's some like laws of physics that you have to pay attention to. Like in a game like Metal Gear Solid 5, if you jump off of a ledge, you're gonna fall because there's gravity. But in like Melee or in a lot of platformers, if you jump off a ledge, you can literally like reverse your momentum and come back if you need to. You know, that's what I mean. Like you can literally put your character wherever they want on the screen. Thoughts on cryptocurrency? At this point, it just seems like gambling, but you know, people can do whatever they want with that whole thing. And a lot of cryptocurrency just seems like kind of like a scam. I think a lot of people have lost a lot of money fucking around with crypto. I mean, I think shit like, you know, Bitcoin, for example. Bitcoin is definitely legit, and I think Bitcoin's gonna be around. I don't know if it's gonna like replace money like some people say that it will, but I think it's gonna be around. It's gonna be a player in the game for sure. But as far as like investing in crypto, it's gambling because there's no guarantees or even data to really follow to really know what is and isn't a good investment. You know, maybe like 100 years down the line, we can see like, okay, Bitcoin seems to go up over time, and it has gone up just like the stock market has. Then maybe we can do that at that point, but at this point it's just gambling. But there's all these other people who are doing like coin offerings, and I think most of these are just scams. These are things that have no value, but they're trying to get people excited about it and to give them money. I know you're an atheist, so this question may be somewhat obvious, but do you believe free will exists, or are you more deterministic? I feel like this will have a great implication on society. So the free will question is I kind of don't like the free will question because we have to define what even counts as free will. Like the idea, like you can make the argument that every choice, every action that someone makes is based on things that happened before. To me, that's obvious. Like a lot of things had to happen before in order for me to make the choices that I'm making right now. But does that mean that it's deterministic? Or since I'm still making the free choice, is that free will? I don't know. I think you can look at it in a lot of different ways. The way that I usually answer the question is that whether or not free will exists, I think we need to act as if it does exist, or else you can get into weird conversations about whether anything we do matters, or whether there are actually any moral obligations. I feel like the only way that it matters what we do is if we do have free will. And I think that we'll get the best outcomes if we behave as if we have free will, as if people's choices matter and people do make choices. Advancements in computational power has been unreal the past decade. The entirety of the planet's computing power in 1960 now fits on an individual's wrist. Yeah, absolutely. The shit that you can do on TikTok and Instagram, like the filters and stuff, you used to have to pay a fucking computer graphics artist thousands of dollars to achieve that effect. And then, you know, they'd have to use it would take like fucking a month to render. Crypto is a scam trying to find legitimacy. It's booming because of people's ignorance, thinking it'll be the next big thing. There's no regulations. I think in many situations, crypto is a scam for sure. But much like many other things, sometimes things have value just because people want it. And as long as people want Bitcoin, for example, it'll continue to have value. And I think that's fine. I think the problem is when someone inflates the value of something for their own gain. Like someone creates some random fucking crypto coin that nobody actually wants, and then they get some early investors because they think, like you said, they think it'll be the next big thing, and then they realize that actually this has no value because nobody wants it. But like, you know, that's how Bitcoin used to be. So that's why people think, oh, this is gonna be the next big thing. What dollar bill would you want your face on? I think it's weird that we put people's faces on money in general. Lime green highlights, yay or nay? You mean on hair? You mean on my hair? Or you mean on your hair? Or do you mean on something other than hair? To be fair to the crypto bros, real money only has value because we think it does. Intrinsically, a dollar is worth less than its printed value. Yeah, I mean that's how everything is. We, you know, obviously people invented money to help facilitate the exchange of services and goods, but even the goods themselves only have as much value as we give them. Like, if I want to sell my car and I've got like a fucking piece of shit, like 1980s fucking Chevy, what's it? I forget. I'm trying to think of this. It's like this old car that my family used to have. But if I got like an old piece of shit car and I try to put it on the market and try to get $10,000 for it, nobody's going to buy it because the people have decided that that car's not worth that much money, and probably zero people are going to pay that much money for that car. There's no like rule in the cosmos that says this car is worth such and such money. It's just it's just the demand and how much people think it's worth. Not the Chevette or the Nova. I can't remember which one it was called. Is it Corsica? Is that the name of a car? Yeah, the Corsica. That's exactly what it is. You remember the Chevy Corsica? Bitcoin has value for sure. There's like baseball cards and Fallout's bottle caps. Problem with crypto is without regulation, people will continue to get scammed. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. There has to be some sort of organization to the whole thing. But the problem is also a lot of this stuff operates out of different countries with different laws and things like that. So it's going to be hard to keep track of. NFTs seem like a bigger scam than crypto. Yeah, I think NFTs, I don't really get that whole, I mean, I get it, but I don't understand why people take it seriously. Like, I don't necessarily think NFTs are a scam, but I think it's a waste of money. I think it's a ripoff. Because with crypto scams, I think the definition of a scam is when you're being misled about what you're getting in exchange for your money. But people know exactly what they're getting with NFTs. I just don't understand why they're still willing to pay for it after they know that they're essentially not getting anything. My first car was a Chevy Chevette with a hole under the floor mat where you could see the road like a Flintstone car. Nice. I think money was invented to create classes of people. How do you determine one's value over another? How do I say I'm better than you in a physical manifestation? I don't know that that's why it was invented, but that's definitely how it is used sometimes. But I mean, I don't really know the history of money, so I could be wrong. Do I have any favorite trips I've taken? Favorite trips? I haven't been on that many trips, I guess. I always love going to New Orleans. I think New Orleans is probably my favorite city in America. When I went to VidCon in Anaheim in 2016, that was like one of the best weekends of my life. But that wasn't, I don't know if I describe that as a trip. It was just me going to a convention. And I go to the beach at least once or twice a year. And I usually go, well, I mean, not usually, I always go to either the beach in Alabama or Florida. I've been to different ones like Gulf Shores in Alabama, Pensacola Beach, Daytona Beach. I've never been to Panama City, and some other ones. I was gonna go to VidCon this year, but they canceled it because of, you know, the new surge of COVID cases. It was gonna be in October. Speaking of crypto, when is T1J coin going to the moon? If y'all ever see me talk about dropping a coin unironically, then I'm gonna need y'all to like check on me and make sure I'm not like going through something, because I feel like if I do that, that must mean that I fucking like owe somebody a bunch of money or something. Should we end the Olympics, or is it still beneficial to the world? I just really think. Do you mean like in general or because of COVID? In general, I'm fine with the Olympics. I think it's fine. What would we call T1J cryptocurrency? I don't know. Homie coin? Heiko coin? I think that's what it would be. Heiko? Hey coin? I don't know. If you had the money to start your own business, what would you do? Well, it may not be immediately obvious, but this YouTube thing is essentially a business that I run. So I kind of already have my own business. Cats or dogs? Dogs. Follow me coin? Maybe. I think we should expand it to Olympics. Well, that's a gamer Olympics alongside of sports. I always thought about that. Like, what if there was a esports version of the Olympics that was like as prestigious as the Olympics, or at least as prestigious, at least like the highest level of competition in gaming. I think there's just too many games, and it would just be hard to pick. Like, the closest thing I can think of is Evo, which is only fighting games, but it's like all of the top fighting games, and it's like all of the best fighting game players, and it's sort of like the Olympics of fighting games, which I think is really cool. The one coin, it's the only coin you need. And I know, like, not necessarily with video games, but there's been a long time campaign. Some people want chess to be in the Olympics, and some people want poker to be in the Olympics. I'm not so sure about that, because the Olympics seems to be very clearly about athletic competition, and those aren't athletic sports. But it's an interesting thing to think about. My favorite con is Carnage in Vermont. Combo of board games, D&D, LARPing, and miniatures, war games. Interesting. I would love to check that out. Hey Kevin, my name is Spiwe. I don't know if I said that right. From South Africa. I really appreciate your work and how you encourage active engagement with socio-political discourse. I'd like to hear your thoughts on NoFap. I didn't know that that's how that comment was going to end. To be fair, I haven't really like dug super deep into the NoFap movement. The way I see it is, if it's actually like enriching people's lives, then go for it. But I have seen a lot of the NoFap stuff associated with like incels and shit sometimes, which makes me a little bit suspicious of it. But I generally don't think like NoFap is like a necessary thing that everyone should do. But you know, if it helps an individual, then go for it. Snakes or spiders? Probably spiders. Yeah, Haycoin. I think Haycoin is probably the best one. So maybe I'll do, like, I won't do a crypto coin, but we can do a virtual currency for the stream. They actually, you know, you may have been in some Twitch streams that have currency that you can use for different things. And like, well, Twitch has like channel points now, but you can actually There's actually widgets where you can do that, so maybe we'll do that. Evo is definitely cool. One step closer. Speedrunners in Olympics, MOBAs, FPS. Yeah, it would be cool. Like I've seen things like there's been like these weird programs like on ESPN and shit where it'd be like tournaments for like a selection of games like Halo, Madden, and other stuff. But it's not really taken seriously, and I don't think they usually have like the best players. So it would be nice to see just a big event with just all of, not all, but like a lot of the most competitive games. So you could have like a fighting game section where you have like Street Fighter, Tekken, Smash, Dragon Ball, maybe some other stuff. And then you can have like an FPS section with like CSGO. I don't even know what people are playing. Like, do people still play Fortnite? Fucking, I was gonna say Overwatch, but I don't think anyone plays that game anymore. I play it, but people say it's a dead game. But you know what I mean. And then you can have like a speed running section. I think that would be cool. But there's just so many games and so many genres. But you can say that about the Olympics. I mean, the Olympics last what, like a week, 2 weeks? Because they have to get through like 20 different events. How many events are in the Olympics? Let's say, how many events are in the Summer Olympics? 33 sports. Wait. Oh, so 33 in the summer and 7 in the winter. So you would need more than, I mean, you could do a gaming event with 33 games or a little bit more. Yeah, my channel points. I think I could hook it up on YouTube as well. And then people could redeem their Hey coins for, I don't know. It's easier to do on Twitch because Twitch has it like built in, but I know you can like do like games with Hey coins. Like you can do like gambling games like slot machine and things like that. I'll figure it out. I'll see if I can do something. I'm trying to think of like what something tangible that you could trade them in for. Like maybe become a mod for a temporary become a mod or something. And then maybe once you get like a ridiculous number of Hey coins, you could get like a t-shirt or something maybe. But it'd have to be really high. You'd have to be like a consistent viewer. It would be cool if YouTube let you like give people like free super chats or something, and that could be something that you could use Hey coins for, but don't believe you can do that. If Biggie and Tupac were alive, would Eminem have been discovered? I mean, I have no idea, but probably. He was pretty active in the underground scene, and I think even back then, people were raving about how good he was. And I think Dr. Dre still would have had his rise to fame, and Dr. Dre is the one who basically discovered Eminem, so probably still would have happened. I'm just interested. I would love to hear what kind of stuff Biggie and Tupac would be making today if they were still around. But I also wonder if, for example, if Jay-Z would have blown up, because Jay-Z I feel like, and I don't mean this in a judging way, but I think Jay-Z kind of slingshot himself off of Biggie. I think being a white rapper these days is less novel, but definitely back then, a white rapper who was that good was very novel and like not only that good but also that marketable, because there were like white rappers at the time, but they were all very like, they didn't really fit the mold of like a mainstream rapper. You know, there's people like Slug from Atmosphere and Aesop Rock and like fucking like LP. You know, there was a lot of white rappers that were active around the time, but they just weren't as marketable, I don't think. I think right now Biggie and Pac wouldn't be that hype. Most rappers during their time aren't even the focus, like LL Cool J, Common, even Snoop has fallen to the background. Yeah, I mean, you know, they would be getting up there in age for sure. But you know, there's people like Jay-Z who kind of, I mean, Jay-Z is not super relevant right now, but he kept his relevancy for a long time, and he made some really good stuff. I think in his I think Jay-Z's stuff that he made later is a lot more like mature and interesting than a lot of the stuff he made before. I mean, some of those old albums are classics, but some of the newer stuff, like 444 or whatever, it's like super great. Like, it's like music for grown folks, which I appreciate, because most pop music is not for grown folks. Why do you think more women don't? Are you saying why do you think more women aren't female rappers, or more women don't like female rappers? I think that hip hop is, it's kind of, it's, for one, it's like a boys club, so it's probably intimidating for women that want to get involved, which applies to like so many things in so many industries. But also mainstream hip hop, like marketable hip hop, is very male focused. It's very masculine, very male focused. And I think a lot of women just aren't into doing it, because a lot of women are not interested in being, you know, in the male focused space. Obviously there's a lot of female rappers that have found a way to express their like femininity while still being marketable, but there still is like this idea of like being like hard and like cool and like fucking, you know, not expressing the traits that are commonly associated with masculinity, like stereotypically associated with masculinity, even among the female rappers. So I don't know. I remember you did make a video on not changing other people's minds, but what should I do about people who directly impact my life? Is there a method to go about this? Well, it's hard to say because each situation is different. It really depends on the context. I don't know what you might be able to achieve or not achieve. It really depends. But I think one thing remains true is that you can't control what other people are doing. You can't control what other people are gonna do, and you can't control what other people are gonna think. So if you go into any situation thinking that you are going to magically change the way that someone acts or thinks, I think that's just going to be a wrong-headed approach. You can try to have a and I think I've mentioned this in that video that you're talking about, but you can try to have a civil conversation where you express how their actions make you feel, and maybe that will get them to be more thoughtful around you. But again, you can't control. They might be completely they might be completely unwilling to change or do anything about it, and I don't know. The situation, I think, is that sometimes life is not fair. Sometimes you're in a situation that sucks and you just have to deal with it for a while, and that's just life. And I'm sorry, but that's just life. Life is not, no one has promised that life was always going to be fair and that there was always going to be a way out of every uncomfortable situation. Unfortunately, that's the truth. All right, Super Femi, thanks for checking out the stream. I'm probably going to stream for maybe like 30 more minutes. But I will, going back to female rappers, I will say that there are a lot of great female rappers who aren't super popular in the mainstream, who rap about a lot of different stuff. But I think what succeeds in the mainstream generally falls into some very narrow categories, which is a little bit disappointing. But, you know, that's just how marketing works. Changing people is hopeless. I realize if someone is stuck in a bubble of info, they have to want to get out of it to educate it. Yeah, at the end of the day, people have to want to change. You're not going to magically change someone without them being receptive to it. And that's just how people have to, you can egg people on, you can plant seeds in people's minds, but at the end of the day, they have to open the door. You can show people the door, but they have to willingly open the door and walk through it. And some people will never do that, and that's just how it is. I got a question for you. Do you feel famous? Do you feel like you have a solid backing following, or do you feel like just another guy with a voice? I don't feel famous generally. I am rationally aware of the fact that I have a larger than average following. I know that, you know, I'm not like famous, like people don't stop me in the street, although I have been recognized in public a couple of times. But you know, it's not like every day. But the very fact that it has happened at all, I think is obviously remarkable, and especially when it happens when I'm with other people, they all look at me like, holy shit, this dude's famous. But to me, it's just like, oh, that's cool. This is like a random person that has seen my stuff. That's cool. But I don't know like exactly what needs to happen in order for me to actually feel famous. But like I said, I'm aware that my experiences are different than most people's. Like for example, I can go right now and type almost anything into Twitter and it'll get hundreds of likes. And I understand that that's not most people's experience. But to me, it just feels normal because that's just how it is for me. I definitely have a solid following. I mean, the fact that I can, like most people, you know, my stream is not very big, but you know, there's still what, a decent like 40-50 people watching combined through Twitch and YouTube. A little bit less, like 40, 30. Earlier there was like 60-70 people in here. But you know, most people can't just turn on the stream and get a bunch of people to watch them. So I acknowledge that I have a following. You know, I can make a video and it will get tens of thousands of views, if not hundreds of thousands of views. That's pretty significant. I'm hyper aware of the fact that I have a decent following. I still would like to build my audience. I don't feel I kind of forgot what I was going to say there, but basically I do still want to build my audience more. I don't know if the feeling of wanting to build will ever go away. It's this weird situation where you always feel like there's more that you can do and more that you can put into it and more that you can get out of it. But I can, you know, first of all, it's not a good idea to compare yourself to other people, but I can compare myself to other people who are in the same sort of space that I am on YouTube, and I can see it's like, oh, they have a much more engaged and much bigger following than I do. So I know that there is more that I can do. I know there's more that I can get out of it because I can see it in other places. But yeah. So far, I enjoy the fact that that I have a little bit of a following. I can't imagine what it would be like to be like super famous, where you just can't go outside without someone approaching you. But you have to, I think you have to be like really famous for that to be the case. Like you have to be like fucking. Like I just watched an interview with Billie Eilish where she was talking about how pretty much every time she goes outside, someone recognizes her. I don't know if I would want that, but I don't know if I'll ever be as famous as Billie Eilish either. So the way it is now, where, you know, I can have instant feedback for ideas and comments that I make, and where every now and then someone walks up to me and says hello, like that's cool. I like that. That's cool to me. What are we talking about? Whatever you want to talk about. Lil Sims put out the best rap album of the year. I don't even know who that is. I'm pretty much out of the loop at music when it comes to music these days. Today's Monday, right? I think so, yeah. What's your thoughts on the movie Blazing Saddles? Never seen it. You think Ginger Spice ruined the Spice Girls, left the group for a solo career? I have no idea. I did not follow the Spice Girls that closely. Have I read the novel Detransition Baby by trans woman author Tori Peters? I have not. As a cis hetero man who has left politics and loved literary fiction, this was an incredible way for me to learn about the trans experience. Interesting. Well, that might be something to check out then. Oh yeah, I can't imagine fucking paparazzi trying to take pictures of me. Yeah, that seems super annoying. Especially if you like, you know, you're just trying to chill and have a private moment, and then you just, you know, go on the internet the next day and there's a bunch of pictures of you in what you thought was a private moment. Like that's pretty gross. I literally don't think I could stop myself from breaking someone's camera. Yeah, the problem is the cruel irony of it is if you do that, then you get in trouble and they don't. Do you think there's a difference between a racist and a white supremacist? Well, yeah. I think there are a lot of people who do racist stuff all the time who, first of all, you can be racist without knowing that you're being racist. So, but I think there's a lot of people who are otherwise nice people, but who just are not thoughtful or introspective enough to keep themselves from being racist. I don't think that they're white supremacists. I don't think they like literally believe that other races are beneath them. They don't consciously think that, but the way they behave is in a racist manner. So definitely two different things. I don't follow most mainstream celebrities, so I wouldn't recognize Billie Eilish. Yeah, I mean, you're probably in the minority on that one. I don't know. But yeah, I would say that she's probably one of the most famous people around these days. Molly, thank you for the 687. Thanks for answering my question about Blazing Saddles. It's a movie made by Mel Brooks about a black man becoming a sheriff in a white town, and I see conflicting opinions on Twitter about it, but I want to understand it from a black person's perspective. Yeah, I mean, I've heard of Blazing Saddles for sure. But yeah, I just haven't seen it yet. Maybe I'll check it out. Maybe I'll do a video about it. Do you think any of America's recent wars have been justified? I mean, my gut is no, but I've said this many times. I don't know enough about foreign policy. I tend not to comment on foreign policy and foreign relations and foreign conflicts because I think it's way more complicated. I think I am just not smart enough to analyze those situations enough to have an opinion. And I think, in fact, most people are not smart enough to do that. So I would be hesitant to really trust anyone's opinion on like complex international relations because it's like very, very complicated. But in general, I consider myself to be anti-war. So it is hard for me to say that any war is justified. White supremacist is a type of racist. What would be your ideal lifespan? 100 years, 200 years? I mean, I would be down to live forever, to be honest. Seems like if you stay a small to medium creator, you can interact more with the audience. Once you get really big, it's way less interactive and feels more like watching TV as a viewer. Yeah, I think it depends on, for one, it depends on how big you get, but it also depends on what kind of content you make and how you run your community. Like if you get to like, well, I think it's a good example. Like if you look at someone like Mr. Beast, from what I can tell, Mr. Beast doesn't really engage with his audience that much. A lot of it, I mean, part of the reason is because it's too big, but also he just makes content that's like, I mean, it's essentially like watching TV, as you said. But then you look at someone like, well, I was gonna say PewDiePie, but let's not talk about PewDiePie. Let's talk about, well, like Jenna Marbles, for example. Jenna Marbles is pretty much retired from YouTube. But when she was active, you know, she was like one of the top YouTubers. She's tens of millions of subscribers, etc. I think she did a decent job of engaging with her audience. She did live streams where she chatted with people. She like interacted with like compilations people made about her. She like responded to messages. I think for her size, she did a really great job of interacting with the audience. And despite the fact that she had tens of millions of subscribers, her videos felt a lot more personal. I wouldn't describe her videos as like watching TV. It kind of felt like just hanging out with someone, so I think it just depends on what kind of content you make. And I think PewDiePie is the same way, but PewDiePie is like a controversial figure, so we'll leave him alone for now. What do I think about Malcolm X? Malcolm X is one of the most important historical figures in America, for sure. I think that, I mean, most of his life, I think, was spent being the spokesperson for a corrupt organization. But I think that he was a important figure, an important counterpoint to people like Martin Luther King Jr. And I think without him, we wouldn't have had like a full totality of civil rights victories. And I also think that, you know, near the end of his life, he was beginning to sort of become the civil rights leader that I think like he would have been bigger than Martin Luther King if he would have survived. So much respect for you for saying, I don't know. I wish more people would not have strong opinions about things they may not know a lot about. Yep. A wise person once told me a good way to avoid looking like an idiot is to not talk about things that you don't know about. So I try not to do that. I wanted to argue about the first Gulf War. I think we can't help but have opinions on things, but as long as you acknowledge that sometimes your opinion is based on a limited perspective, as long as you give your views with that in mind and with that disclaimer, I think that's a better way to go about it. I'm white and I'm exhausted by the lies, trolling, and white supremacist backlash in the wake of 2020 BLM. What's it like for you and black folks more generally? Well, I think for a lot of black people, it is interesting to see that white people are just now discovering that racism exists, or at least that it exists to the extent that it does. And I think this is something that black people kind of already understood. And I guess it's cool that a lot of people are starting to realize it. And it's not just because of 2020. I think we really started to see the tide shift when Trump got elected. But I think it's a little bit frustrating for black people because it's like, yo, we've been screaming about racism like literally since the beginning. Kind of weird that y'all just now getting on this train. I was a big fan of Jenna Marbles though. I was sad when she decided to leave, but you know, it's her choice. Seth Meyers on Late Night with Seth Meyers has that with his corrections segment every Thursday night, Friday. It feels more interactive than the other late night shows. Yeah, I actually like Seth Meyers' show. It does feel more interactive, and it feels like more earnest than the other shows. The other shows seem very like scripted and tame, but Seth Meyers, it seems more like art to me. I don't know how else to describe it. Did you see Spider-Man No Way Home yet? I did see it. Please no spoilers because I think a lot of people haven't seen it yet, but I did see it and I enjoyed it. I was in my 40s before I'd heard about the Japanese internment camps. Well, yeah, in fact, I don't think I was taught about the internment camps when I was younger. But yeah, the education system is very, very whitewashed and downplays a lot of things. I don't know if it was real, but I saw, it was some kind of material for a child. And they were talking about the Trail of Tears, and the material implied that the natives went on the Trail of Tears of their own will. Like it implies that like they were politely asked, and then they said cool. I don't know if I can find it. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, they were basically teaching the kids that the natives went on the Trail of Tears willingly, which is like, wow. We talked a little bit about crypto and NFTs earlier. I basically think crypto is anywhere between a scam and gambling, and I think NFTs is just kind of a silly ripoff that I don't really understand why people take it seriously. Even when you make videos, you seem to make a point of never holding your opinion too strongly and always seeming open to expanding your perspective on it even after making the video. Well, I'm glad it comes off that way because that's true. But I also don't want to make it seem like I'm some kind of like wishy-washy person that's like afraid to have a view, because I definitely have solid views on most of the things that I research. But I think it's fair to share other views, even if I disagree with them, and I'll share why I disagree with them. But I'll share the view, and you can decide which one you think is more convincing. Do you think the whitewashing of history is due to people trying to make white people seem better or trying to protect kids from harsh reality, or both? I do think it's both. And I think to some extent, there are some things that maybe are a bit too intense for young children. Like, maybe you don't need to teach, 8-year-olds about like brutal slaughter and, assault of, communities. But also don't lie. There are ways to talk about things in a way that's just not straight up lying. But I do think that a lot of it is that something that is instilled in children from a very young age is that America is an amazing, flawless country. And so when you're teaching the history of America and there's all this fucked up shit in it, that kind of contradicts the message. So I think they water down a lot of stuff so that they can maintain that message of America being the land of the free, the home of the brave, the greatest country in the world. Honestly, designated member, you might also be right. From the history writer's perspective, from their perspective, everything that happened in history might be fine. So they didn't think these things were atrocities. They thought it was totally cool because America was destined to take this land and to civilize the uncivilized communities of the world from their perspective. Yeah, I do think once you hit high school, there's no reason to water down things for the kids anymore. As someone with very uncommon political and intellectual beliefs, do you find yourself attempting to build a social circle around you of similar people, or do you integrate with laymen? Laymen? How and why? So, I don't know that my political and intellectual beliefs are uncommon. I don't necessarily think that they are. I mean, maybe they're not the most popular, but I think there are other people who have similar views as me. And this is maybe somewhere where I differ with a lot of left-wing people. I don't really choose my friends and social circle based on politics. I just choose them based on who's fun to hang around. So I can have friends with different political views. JH. What is SEK? Is that shekels? Swedish krona. Thank you for the 55 Swedish krona. They say it's in the last place you look. Well, I disagree. Keep looking. You might find it. I don't know. What is that a reference to? What were we talking about? Anyway, thank you for the super chat. I work for a nonprofit literacy org. We recently started changing our approach to the books we provide, focusing on stories of POC. You can learn a lot from children's books. It getting too is that without it getting too graphic? I know. I think that there's a lot that you can teach children. And it doesn't have to be like, I also don't think that we should be just teaching. I think this is what conservatives are afraid of, is that kids are gonna go to school and the whole class is gonna be like, America's trash, white people suck. You don't have to do that either. I think there are a few things that I think this story of America is very fascinating. And I think you can tell that story without being like super cynical. But you should be truthful, Like, we don't have to worship the founding fathers as deities, because they were obviously flawed people, and some of them may have been bad people, but they were still like brilliant people with interesting stories that are worth learning about. I'm a 16-year-old African American who enjoys your videos. I was going to ask, how can we fix the black community? Well, I think it just depends on the issue. I think there's a lot of different issues that the black community faces, and they probably all have different solutions. And I think a lot of the solutions are, a lot of the problems in the black community are not necessarily the fault of the black community, and therefore don't necessarily need to be solved by the black community. But I think, I think things like education and activism are useful. Stay informed, pay attention, vote, things like that. There are great things about America, but at the same time, we need to acknowledge what's also keeping America down and how America can be improved, of course. And that shouldn't be controversial. We should always be trying to improve the situation. The idea that we should just keep things the way they are, don't even think about what's wrong, never try to improve, that just seems so silly to me. You perfectly encapsulated what most conservatives fear CRT is. Yeah, and I mean, for one, I really don't think that's happening. It's possible, this is why I always have to separate social media from real life, because some of these folks on Twitter, I assume that some of these folks on Twitter are teachers, and if they're teaching their kids the same shit that they're writing on Twitter, then maybe there are some classrooms that are like that. But in my experience, people in real life don't talk like that and don't act like that for the most part, especially when we're talking about interacting with children. Most people become teachers out of a genuine desire to educate and help children, not to spread their personal propaganda to them. So I just think that's kind of an overblown fear. Do I think a country needs some level of nationalism or other cohesive idea to function? I mean, the cohesive idea that I think is needed is just humanism. I don't think that nationalism is necessary, but I'd be interested to hear the argument for why someone might think it is. America has a lot of problems, but I also love this country. It's still my home. I still think about leaving America all the time. The only thing that stops me is the fact that my mom went through so much struggle to get here. I've said many times that if it becomes feasible to me, I would love to look into moving to a different country, because I'm pretty convinced at this point that there are better places to live. But A, that's easier said than done. You can't just like show up in fucking Norway and be like, please, I would like to live here now. It's a little more complicated than that. And you know, you might be a person that sees potential in this country and wants to fight to improve it. But you also have to think about your lifetime. You only get your one life. And the way I see it is, I would like to use my life. I would like to set up my life to where it is maximizes my happiness. And my guess is that would happen. That's more likely to happen in a different country. But again, also, you know, like I said, it's easier said than done. Some people just don't have the resources to do that, and I currently don't have the resources to do that, but perhaps one day I will. I teach political science at a university. Nobody is teaching CRT outside of courses specifically focused on it. Of course, I also did a video on critical race theory for those that don't know. And I'm not even like a big proponent of critical race theory, as you'll know if you watched my video. But the way that conservatives talk about it is just completely wrong-headed, and just they clearly don't. For one, they don't understand what critical race theory is, but they also just don't understand the history of race in America, and they want to sort of they want to just keep this sort of whitewashed version of history, which is a problem. I don't want to get dark or anything like that, but do you think we as the black community are still seen as second-class citizens? Yeah. I think it's pretty obvious. Obviously, it's not as bad as it was in the 50s and before that, but for sure. White people are sort of considered like the default people in America. Everyone else is just like an other. I lived abroad for a long time. They're a good place to live, but I think most people will be surprised by how much they miss and relate to their home country. I mean, if you say so, I can't argue with that because I don't have the experience. I am doubtful that would happen to me, but I don't have the experience, so I can't say one way or the other. I mean, I'm sure there's like cultural things that'll take some time to get used to, but it also depends on what country you live in as well. Like living somewhere like if you lived in Germany versus living in Japan, that would be like two different experiences. I think a lot of liberals don't understand CRT either, but at least they're well-meaning while conservatives aren't. Yeah, I mean, and I mentioned that in the video as well. I think a lot of left-wing people don't really know what it is either. But we're at a situation where if everyone is using the term wrong, does it even have any meaning anymore? That's the hard thing. But the thing about it is the main argument is I don't want critical race theory taught in schools. It's not being taught in schools, so we shouldn't even be having this argument. It just isn't being taught, especially to children. Like, critical race theory is way too complex for elementary school classrooms. But conservatives use, they use CRT as shorthand for, like, I guess talking about race in general, or talking about what they say is like kids are being taught that being white is bad and that America is a bad country, etc. I don't think that's happening. It's not happening. They may be teaching the factual history of American atrocities, but that should be fair game because it's what happened. Like, I would love to see an example. Is it like if there's an example of several schools teaching children that it's bad to be white, or that white people are oppressors and things like that. I would love to see examples of that. I don't think that's happening. Do you think it's possible to create a society without normals and others? I mean, no civilization so far seems to have managed it. So you can improve the situation, but can it be removed? I don't know. I mean, I think you can probably create a society where bigotry is not institutionalized, but bigotry will always exist because people it's just human nature to be suspicious and fearful of things they don't understand and things that are different. But if you create a framework where people cannot use their bigotry to systemically oppress other people, I think that's possible. But the problem is, in most countries, we don't acknowledge that it's as big of a problem as it is, and we don't do anything to tackle the problem. Why was racism against us black people started? Anyway, it's been a question I've had for a while. Like, we didn't do anything to deserve this. No, we didn't. I mean, the easiest answer is slavery. So, in America at least, and probably like most Western countries, but so obviously the Europeans essentially, if not kidnapped, bought the Africans and brought them over to the Americas and forced them to become slaves. And they justified slavery by basically saying that these black people were not full humans. They did not deserve freedom. They did not deserve respect or to be, treated with dignity because they weren't full humans like the white people were. And so that went on for a while. And even after slavery was abolished, this idea of black people being less than maintained. And so even though they weren't slaves anymore, they were still oppressed and treated like shit and murdered and things like that. And because people just didn't see them as full human, like people would go watch lynchings of black people like it was a fucking Broadway show. They'd go and sit, they'd bring their children. You don't do that to someone that you think is a full human. So, and that wasn't that long ago, those things weren't happening that long ago. That was less than 100 years ago. This was happening. And so obviously, those attitudes about black people being less than, not being full human, not being worthy of the same respect, obviously those mentalities are not just going to disappear over, a couple decades. So it's just a remnants of those old attitudes. Do you think that the structural racism in the U.S. can ever be undone? Yeah, I think so. But we have to like get started trying out solutions to tackle the problem. We have to acknowledge as a society that it's even a problem. The problem is we can't even agree as a society that it even exists. As long as that's the case, we're never gonna get rid of it fully, because there will never be a sort of united approach against it. But if we can ever get to a point where we sort of agree as a society that it's a problem, then sure, we can start tackling it. We can start making improvements. I don't think racism in general is ever going to go away, as I said before, because I think humans are just naturally sort of shitty. But I think we can severely limit the amount of systemic oppression that exists if we actually cared to tackle that problem, because we've seen it done before. You know, the civil rights era had so many big wins that completely transformed the plight of black people and other minorities in America. Unfortunately, it kind of stopped there, but we saw some successes, and there's no reason that we couldn't have more and more successes. But yeah, I have been streaming for about 2 hours now, and I am going to start winding down the stream. Probably going to end the stream in the next 5 or 10 minutes, so we can respond to a couple more messages, answer a couple more questions, but we're going to start winding it down. To an extent, haven't people in general enjoyed murder as a spectator event? Maybe that's limited to European cultures. That's true. I mean, people... The thing is, I don't know. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't get the sense that people would witness like an execution, for example, of a criminal as if it was some kind of like spectator sport. Like, people usually did it at like, I feel like it was a somber event usually. Like, if you go to watch someone at the guillotine, or you go to watch someone like get in the electric chair, I feel like it was a somber event where people sort of like feel vindication for a like basically like a criminal getting their punishment. The thing with the lynchings of black people, it just really didn't even matter if the person did anything wrong or not. They just enjoyed the spectacle of seeing a black person get tortured. But I haven't like super studied all of this, so I could be wrong about that. And if anyone knows, you can let me know. But that's the way that I've kind of understood it. Do you think the Malcolm X type activists would survive in today's world? I mean, they'd probably be more likely to survive today. I don't know. I mean, you never know what can happen, but I think it's harder to just straight up like assassinate people these days, especially like high profile people like that. But I don't know, you know, maybe there's just like there's too much surveillance, I feel like, these days. I'm happy to end on a positive note if y'all want. I'd say that the lynchers probably thought that being black was itself a crime in a way. Well, yeah, I mean, if you study this stuff, you can tell, like, they've like done interviews with people where they've said, like, it'll be someone accused of some crime, and they'll interview the people and be like, well, hey, this evidence doesn't really add up. The person that you say that this man sexually assaulted, that person said that it didn't happen. So why are you still gonna execute this guy? And they'll say something like, oh, it doesn't matter. We have to set an example. Like, it didn't matter to them whether or not anyone was like actually guilty of a crime. I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, like, for example, obviously, Emmett Till's like one of the most famous like murders of innocent black people. I'm pretty sure that no, not Emmett Till. Or maybe it wasn't Emmett Till. There's like a famous one where the person that he was accused of harassing or whatever straight up said that it didn't happen, but they still killed him anyway. Lynching and Spectacle is a great book that breaks down the role of lynching, the media that surrounds it, and the various cultures that breaks down. Would you say that Malcolm X and Nation of Islam was appropriating Islam? I mean, I guess they were. I don't know that I specifically care that they were, though. Oh, she did it on her deathbed. Okay. What's the next project I'm looking forward to? I have a video coming out next month. I sort of took a break for December for like the holidays. I put out a stream highlight a couple weeks ago. If y'all haven't seen that yet, but I didn't do like a full video, but I will have my next video coming out in like mid-January, so look out for that. But I'm gonna try to continue to stream at least once or twice a week, so click that notification bell if you want to be notified when I'm live. Here's the question: when are you gonna play Final Fantasy 14 again with your boys? What's up, Casey? I don't know, man. I think I need to I think I just need to play the game and just play the story and stop getting stressed out about leveling up, because I think the fact that it feels so daunting to level up is like making me not want to do it. But I do want to play the story, so I think I'll just play the story and just not even think about leveling up, and then eventually I'll get there. But I don't know, I feel like the game is just weird. It just feels weird to play sometimes. Like, it's an amazing game, obviously, and the content is all really great, but actually like moving the character around like doesn't feel good to me, especially compared to like WoW and some other games. So whenever I play Final Fantasy, it just makes me miss WoW. I need to do more stream highlights. Maybe so. I'm hesitant to do too many of them because I don't know how long all of you have been following me, but I used to do like a stream highlight like 2 to 4 times a month, and I actually got some complaints because people thought that people would be expecting like a normal video and then they get a stream highlight and they'd be disappointed. So I try to be very sparing with them, and I try to make sure that it's like actually, you know, a topic that I think people will find interesting. because the main feature of this channel is still the video essays, and I don't want to change that. I mean, not necessarily that I don't want to change that, but I think that's what people want, and I think people might get upset if there was just all of a sudden a bunch of stream highlights. Is Final Fantasy 14 any good? I downloaded that game, played for like 2 hours, and hated it. Really? I think Final Fantasy 14 is amazing. I just have like minor nitpick complaints with it, but as a game, especially as an MMO, I mean, it's probably the best MMO right now. So if you're into MMOs, I would say play that one. But if you're not into MMOs, then you might not like it. Passing by, it's 11 p.m. in Belgium. Love your channel, just discovered it. Thank you. I mean, it's still MMO combat, which I never liked that much anyway, but it grew on me, I guess. The thing is, I like the combat in WoW. I don't really like it in Final Fantasy. Like I really like the raid bosses and stuff, and the raid mechanics in Final Fantasy. I think it's cool, but just I don't know, just the way the character feels is weird. But you know, the game is great. I don't want to be perceived as saying that I don't like the game, because the game is great. Mr. J, what is favorite brand of chip? Favorite brand of chip? Like chips? I really like Funyuns. Does that count as chips? Not necessarily chips, but it's in that genre. I was wondering if you'd be okay with giving a Switch friend code to your fans. If not, it's fine, no pressure. Maybe at some point. I don't really play anything on a Switch that requires friend code. I haven't played Smash in a long time, and I hate playing it online anyway. So, but maybe if I start playing it again, then I'll see. G, thank you for the 5. Sorry about having to pause Patreon in December. Oh, that's totally fine. Don't apologize. You got to do whatever you got to do with your own money. Would you like to make more videos about nerdy stuff, like the MCU and so on? Yeah, I probably will. I mean, I'm at the point where... So, I'm a little bit like... nervous about making videos that I don't think people want to watch. And whenever I make a video that strays from what I normally make, it usually doesn't get that many views. But I kind of don't care anymore. Like, I think I'd rather just make stuff that I want to make. And I'm fortunately in a position where I'm not super beholden to YouTube ad revenue, so I don't need to get a lot of views. Obviously, I would like to get a lot of views. I'd like to get more subscribers and stuff. And sometimes I think that I should focus on trying to build my audience as big as I can before I start, you know, making all these like passion projects. But I don't know if I really care about that anymore. And you never know, you know, one of those videos might be pretty popular as well. How's my Christmas? It was cool. Do you have any New Year's plans? I'm not sure. I know I'm gonna be the first college football playoff game is New Year's Eve. So I'm gonna be watching that, and I may just stay where I'm at all night, but I'm not sure if that's gonna be a thing. I don't know if I want to like go to a bar or something. I'm kind of like sick of bars at this point, which is something I don't think I would never thought I would say, but especially on a holiday, like that's gonna be obnoxious. But I don't know, like maybe if I don't stay over there, I can just like have some people over my apartment. My apartment is like finally kind of ready for company. So it's my biggest channel plan in 2022. I don't think I really have any like specifically big plan. I'm just gonna try to make better and more ambitious videos in general. You think BLM is the successor to the civil rights movement? I mean, yeah, I would say it's in just the modern evolution of that, or at least one version of that. Background definitely looks quite full and rich now. I guess. I've been trying to decorate. I've like put up some art, some posters, but I'm in an apartment, so I'm trying to avoid using nails. But so I'm using like this like strong double-sided adhesive, but one of my posters fell off the wall. I hope that doesn't mean that they're all gonna fall, because that would suck. Also, don't go to bars currently because Omicron. That's another good reason to not go out for sure. Yeah, back in the day, it was just almost a foregone conclusion that I'd be going out for New Year's Eve. Like that was just what I did. But I don't think I've been out like the last 2 New Year's Eves. Granted, of course, you know, there's been a lot of stuff going on, but it's just like more obnoxious these days. If you could move anywhere, all expenses paid for 6 months, where would you go? Probably Norway. Would you be okay with giving a shout out to my Winter Troopers live group chat? I mean, I don't know what that is, but I just said it out loud. Winter Troopers live group chat. But yeah, I'm probably gonna go ahead and end the stream, y'all. I got a few chores to do. I also got to use the bathroom really bad, and I figured I'd just go ahead and end the stream rather than just go do it. But I should be in. Speaking of New Year's Eve, that's when I would normally stream because I want to stream on Fridays. So I probably won't stream on Friday because I'm gonna be preoccupied. Unless I like get up really early, I probably won't stream. So I probably won't stream Friday. So I'll probably see y'all next Monday. That'll be the next time I stream. But yeah, thanks for joining me on the stream. Love you too, Casey. Thanks for all the kind words. I hope everyone is enjoying their holidays. Here's to a decent 2022. Last couple years have been rough for a lot of folks, so we can only hope that it gets a little bit better. We'll see what happens. I do want to plug my Discord. If you use Discord, or if you're interested in using Discord, I have a super chill Discord community that you can check out. Just go to theonejanitor.com/Discord. Does this work? Let me see if I can do this. Yeah, it does work. Okay. It's like super chill, super friendly. So if you're just interested in a super chill community to talk about various topics, doesn't always have to be politics. We have channels for all kinds of different topics. Feel free to join. But yeah, I just want to plug that. But other than that, I'll probably see y'all next Monday, and check out a couple weeks for my next video on my channel. But anyway, I will see y'all then. Bye bye.